drum, hit your whole body go crack. Let the baseline move, take it off of the map. We rock crowds every time we feel. Boom, boom, rap, yeah, we got it like that. Kick drum, hit your whole body go crack. Let the baseline move, take it off of the map.
Yes, welcome into 2020 and welcome back to the Heatcheck for the first ever episode in the new decade. I am your host, JD Dyer, and you know this show. We're here to give you all of the insight, all of the breakdown, and all of the things that's happening around the NBA, especially going into 2020. And what an exciting year it's going to be. You've got the AllStar around the corner. The Paris Games are this month. And who better to chop it up with than my two brothers joining me on the sofa right now. I got to the left of me, I got Hoop Genius's own Mo Moonsey, and to the right of me, London Lions and GB athlete, my guy, Obi Soko. Gentlemen, first of all, Happy New Year. It's so good to see you both in person. It's so good to see you healthy coming into 2020. I like the smile. See that energy right there? That energy is everything I needed.
Good times.
Happy New Year to you both,
as well,
man.
my brother.
He's been on Google, that's why he's smiling. That's why he's so happy. He just got down there 45 minutes on Google.
Trust me, I've been on Google. I've been Googling for the most outrageous outfit I can find for next week. I'm trying to catch up with Ovi.
I hear you,
know
I
what I'm
hear you.
saying?
As you can see, my brothers have started to smoke already, but can we dive straight in with the
Let's
first
go, man,
segment?
let's get it.
All right, let's get into Hot or Not, man. Yes, trade season is amongst us, and that means that there's speculation everywhere. Now, when I woke up the other day and I heard this, it did take me by a bit of a surprise. But the Sacramento Kings have apparently entered into trade talks with the Los Angeles Lakers around Karl Kuzma. Now, that doesn't surprise anybody. But more than anything else, Bojan Bogdanovic is the man that they potentially could be sending the other way. Now, here's my hot take. Is this a good trade for both teams? Obi, I'm gonna come for you first. Talk to me, man. Would you love to see this trade happen, and do you think this is a good trade for both teams? Think about Bogdanovic as well, especially going to play on that Lakers team.
So do I think it's a good trade for both teams? Mm-hmm. As in...
For the Lakers and the Kings.
As in, both teams are benefiting from it. As in...
Both teams. Cold.
That's cold, man.
Okay, talk to me.
That's
Why do you feel like it's
freezing.
cold?
That's cold because at the end of the day, Bogdanovic, he's going to go to the Lakers. Lakers are going to win a championship. Kuzma is going to go to the Kings. I don't know what they're going to do out there. I don't know what they're going to do out there. You know, I think we've seen, unfortunately, the best of Kuzma. Mm-hmm. You know, now we'll just sort of see him wearing the crocodile suits and the yellow hair thing he does.
Coming out of Rose.
Like, he's clearly just not, he's not locked in anymore. I think it's difficult for a young player like that came into a system where he was allowed to sort of have his growing pains, where the club, you know, wasn't really expected to, you know, overachieve. There wasn't any heavy expectations, but all of a sudden, now the GOAT has come onto your team. Anthony Davis is on your team. They're stacked all over the place, and now you're on a championship team where you're struggling to find minutes and really find your role and find comfort. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think that's really been a huge knock on him. And yeah, I don't know how.
It seems like it was only the other day, me and you was just texting. We was watching the Christmas Day, and we were watching how special Kuz looked and how good he looked in that Lakers system. Basketball, obviously, we know a lot of things can happen very, very quickly. Now, I'm going to ask you a different question. Do you feel like the trainers, it comments in terms of towards LeBron James, especially after that Christmas Day episode, we'll say, do you reckon that affected maybe Kuz's trade value with the Lakers? I'm
going to go with that's a hot take.
Okay.
Because I think as much as LeBron will still show love on social media to Kuz, that's the image, you know, but deep down, that's Kuz's people, and Kuz even had a tweet after his trainer went on that rant. He said, you got to call a spade, somewhat agreeing with what his trainer said. Another factor, of course, is Kuzma was considering signing with Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, during the summer. He went in a different direction. That's bound to cause some friction in that. You know that locker room is LeBron and AD, they're both represented by the same guy. But just going back to the trade with the Kings, for me personally, I think Bogdanovic is a great player, great shooter. He would be a fantastic addition to that Lakers squad. But I think there are better trades that they can make to help them. One trade that I was playing around on the trade machine that I came up with is if you send Kuzma...
This is GMO now.
Yeah, GMO.
I like this.
Lakers, if you're watching. You send Kuzma, you send Bradley, and you send Quinn Cook over to Detroit, who are trying to rebuild. They're about to trade Andre Drummond. They're talking to Atlanta about that.
Of course.
They're trying to rebuild, and you send back Derrick Rose and Langston Galloway. You then get a shooter, and you also get a point guard who can control
penetrate.
the play. You know, when LeBron's off and when AD's off, they really struggle. Rondo isn't quite what he used to be in terms of dictating the play on the floor. I think. I don't know why he's so mad.
Wait, I'm actually going to give him a break for this one because
I'm just going to let him talk and just keep digging a hole for himself.
All right. So they've got another ball handler so that when LeBron or AD are taking rest, they've got someone that comes off that bench that can control the flow of the offense. And also, you know, we're potentially going to see Dwight Howard getting a ring. I think it's only right. D. Rose deserves a ring for his career
So this
as well.
is no emotional decision involved in
Well,
these
I thought
trades.
This is because D. Rose should deserve a ring,
Well, no,
so we should take him to the Lakers. So that's why it's a better trade.
That's not what I said, is it, though?
Get out of here, man.
That's not what I said. That's the secondary reason. The main reason being...
That's not a reason
If you were
at
listening,
all.
the main reason is that because they need someone to control the flow of the offense when LeBron isn't on the floor.
He is right though, because to an extent, the Lakers.
My point is,
the Lakers
but how
need.
much do they really struggle? They're the number one team in the toughest conference of basketball in the world. So they're clearly not struggling that much.
They can
And it's
get
clearly
better.
It's clearly
They're not a flawless.
GMO.
They haven't gone undefeated the whole season.
Of course they haven't
They
gone
can still
undefeated. When was the
improve.
last team went
As a
undefeated?
team, do you not want to improve? If you're going to trade a player, would you not want to have the best upgrade possible for your roster?
You need to make an upgrade that's going to make life better for LeBron James. At the end of the day, when it comes playoff time, if LeBron James has to play the full length of the game, a full 48, he'll do it. That's just what it is.
Of course.
It's LeBron James. He's the GOAT. That's what's expected of him. So what they're building for now is put in pieces that will specifically allow him to be successful on the court. And traditionally, when LeBron James has won, he's just been pretty much surrounded with shooters, with a couple
got a point there.
trash guys. So what is that?
I mean, the second bit I didn't agree.
Bogdanovic.
Second bit I didn't agree.
Wait.
but
LeBron is one with shooters and trash guys. So what do you call
2020
I'm not saying
What do you
2020
call
started the
Dwayne
same
Wade?
way.
That's why I said. I said shoot well.
He's had two guards there that are great guards as well. If they get Bogdanovic, they're going to use him as a spot shooter. If they get
Yeah, he
D-Rose,
will.
they get someone
So
who
you're
can
saying D. Rose is
he can
Iverson.
initiate offense.
You're saying he's Wade and Kyrie.
No, he's not as good as they were when they won.
At all.
But he's playing a similar role to what they did.
I mean, you have to agree with some aspects
Similar
of what
role.
he's saying. You have to agree with some aspects of what he's saying though, because
Both of those guys
Yeah, talk to me.
were secondary to LeBron James. They were both the number 2 guys on those respective teams. D. Rose ain't gonna come in there and be the number 2 guy.
He's going to be the number 3 guy. Because Kyle Kuzma's not worked out as the number 3 guy, has he? Before the season, everyone's talking about LeBron,
you had me up
AD,
to, you had
and
me
then
up to that
Kuzma.
number 3 point.
Well, who's the third option on the Lakers?
I mean, right now you would turn around and say it's Kuzma because he's supposed to run that second offense. But at the same time, I mean, I actually wanted to bring up, because I actually think he did make one very, very good point.
I
which
don't
was,
think they're a team that goes with and needs a number 3 guy. They're a team that when it's not that primary unit, they work best as a collective. Now, the second unit for them works best when they just work literally like they play very, very good team basketball.
So
you
what
see
second unit
you see
doesn't
LeBron
work?
James jumping up on
The
the
second
side.
unit does not work.
Why
when
hasn't,
LeBron's
why
not on
hasn't
the
it
floor,
worked? Why hasn't it worked
when-
for Kuzma? Why hasn't it worked for Kuzma?
Hasn't
Because
worked
this was
for Kuzma
supposed to be his breakout
you know,
year.
he was a player. He was 27th pick in the draft, and he's been a great success compared to what people expected of him coming into the league. But he was on, as Ovi said earlier, he was on a very bad Lakers team.
doo-doo
Where,
team.
You know, he was starting, he was getting as many looks as he kind of wanted.
course, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like Lonzo's not really a scorer. Brandon Ingram still wasn't the Brandon Ingram he is today. So Kyle Kuzma could get the ball and score, but now he's coming into like a 6-man kind of role. He's sometimes coming off the bench, and he's having games where he's struggling to even get into double digits for scoring. So, you know, you're looking at Kyle Kuzma. I don't think he fits in Sacramento. They've got Harrison Barnes there.
Yeah.
They've already got other guys to got to pay. Send him back home to Detroit. That's where he's from. And I think the trade works well because you get Galloway, who's a shooter, and you get D. Rose, because the bench, when you're looking at LeBron, I know you don't like numbers and statistics, but the Lakers, when LeBron is off the floor, they are not a good team.
But what's the...
What are you expecting? No,
Guys,
Just
no,
one second.
no,
He's
we're
going to play
gonna
every
go
2 games,
Just
then
last
every
thing,
minute of the
last
playoffs.
thing. I got
But
3
what
hot
is the
takes.
argument? What was the argument? You
Okay.
just said it's a hot take. So you said it's a good... You said it's a good trade for both teams, and now you're saying it's better if they trade with someone else. You're not making sense, my guy.
He asked me a different question to what he asked you.
Wait.
He asked me about
That
Kuzma's
is true.
trainer.
Hot or not?
He asked me about
No,
Kuzma's
he gave his
trainer.
opinion.
That
He said
was
it's
a
hot.
take.
He said it's hot. He said it's hot.
Okay, you
He
got
said
to
it's
keep
hot.
track.
So why is he saying that
But
there's a better trade
you
out
gotta
there?
keep
But,
track.
Gents,
out
with the
here, man.
conversation in the West, sometimes you have to focus on the East as well. And this is why I want to come to you, Mo, first for the hot take here. all the conversation in terms of the Eastern Conference is focused around Philadelphia. It was in the off-season, and it is again halfway through the season. So my hot take to you is, can Embiid and Simmons still combine to finally get Philadelphia that chip?
Oh, nope. Nope.
Okay. You're going to break my heart today.
Reason being, they could, in theory they could, but Ben Simmons doesn't seem willing to...
change his game.
I don't even want to say sacrifice, 'cause it's not a sacrifice. All he has to do is start taking some jump shots, because if he
must be a
can't
confidence
shoot,
issue there, surely.
it's a mental issue, because, you know, we've seen him do it 1 or 2 times, yeah? It's like he's a basketball player. He plays basketball every day of his life. He can put the ball in a hoop. And a lot of these guys, you know, NBA players, I've been around NBA players that are like the 13th man on the bench, but when they're in the gym by themselves, they won't miss for like 50 shots in a row. You know, they're all very talented players, especially someone of Ben Simmons' caliber. He has the mechanics there. It's just a psychological thing of being in the game. And I think Brett Brown, the coach, put on a lot of pressure saying he wants Ben Simmons to take 1 a game. And since then, he hasn't shot a single 3, because that's a lot of pressure, because everyone's going to be judging him now on that one. It needs to come naturally in the offense. But he doesn't seem willing to do it. And if he's not shooting and you're playing with Embiid, who's a post-up big, the spacing on the floor doesn't work, especially when you add Al Horford into the mix. So, you know, if you're a guard who's not a great shooter, we saw with Rondo back in the day, he wasn't a great shooter, but the most important statistic for him was field goals attempted.
Yeah.
Because he would still let it fly, because some games, he might make one, he might make another, and then, you know, the defense has to respect that. But whereas Ben Simmons, the defense doesn't have to guard him on the perimeter, and you're essentially playing like maybe a 4-on-5 offense.
I mean, when Ben Simmons first came into the league, you couldn't literally run out of superlatives for how dynamic of a player he is. But obviously the league has changed so much, being so focused on shooting now. Do you believe that this combination of Embiid and Simmons can still work to win a championship in Philadelphia?
Nah, man. It's cold. That train's gone, man.
Done. So you would break it up, basically, is what you're saying?
No, I would break up. And, you know, I agree with Mo for the reason being that at the end of the day, because he's not able to shoot, and, you know, they like to play him out there as sort of in the guard role.
This is hurting you.
No, because this is what gives the Boston fans the false sense of security. this is, you know, they've got Ben Simmons
no need.
I'm living rent-free in his head, bro.
I
ain't even said Boston, I'm living rent-free.
This is what
the new house, but I'm living
this is what gives you the confidence, you know. This is what makes me think, yeah, I'm a Boston fan. Yeah, because you're in a whack conference. That's why you're confident, because your conference is whack. You would be average on the West. Average.
I mean, but anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
Let's say whatever you like.
I think it's... Leave it. Let him have that one. Just let him have that one.
Salty.
That's not the discussion. Anyway.
Can they do
I think,
it?
No, they can't. Because at the end of the day, because he's not willing to take them shots, and, you know, Embiid, we all know, he's willing to shoot the ball, but then, you know, some days, he's very hot and cold. Like, some days, Embiid might make everything, and those when you see sort of special nights and they're able to take out Boston, you know, like on nights like that where he absolutely goes ham. But then, because he's so up and down, that's why I think we see an inconsistency at times with Philly. Like, they'll go on sort of streaks where they'll win a lot of games, and then they can have, you know, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. It's possible. Like, that's why they just don't have the consistency. So,
my final hot take to both of you is another player that's been under a huge amount of scrutiny this year. He actually started the season fantastic, KarlAnthony Towns. But at this moment right now, we can turn around and say the Minnesota Timberwolves are struggling once again. Now, at this stage right here, that experiment doesn't seem to have worked. I mean, Jimmy Butler probably exposed a lot of home truths within that camp. Exposed a lot of home truths within that camp. But at this stage, would you blow up the Minnesota Timberwolves, and should the Timberwolves trade KarlAnthony Towns?
No.
Okay.
You shouldn't trade. They should blow up their team, but KarlAnthony Towns should be the one player that stays.
Okay.
Because he is far too talented. If you trade KarlAnthony Towns, if you go out to other teams...
I know he's going to disagree with you for this.
I know he disagrees with everything I say. I can say the sky is blue, he will disagree. You know what I'm saying? People are like, no, it was great today because there's clouds, but whatever. If you've got KarlAnthony Towns on your roster and you're offering him in trade, teams know that you've got no leverage. You're not going to get a return. Like, you're not going to be able to get a return for a player of his caliber because he is a great scorer, rebounder. He can shoot, he can dribble, put on the floor, he can play on the post. He can do it all. He's this new generation of big men. They called him the unicorns. He's a fantastic talent. What we haven't seen is, I know they had Jimmy Butler, but that fit wasn't necessarily the best fit for their roster. We haven't seen a team built around KarlAnthony Towns that would make his skills the most effective. They're giving Andrew Wiggins all this money. I don't think that
They paid him a lot of money, man.
You know, I don't think that's turned
paid him a
out
lot of
to
money.
be the best decision. He had a lot of potential. He's kind of stagnated. He played the first 10 games of the season. We all got excited. Oh, Wiggins has improved. But he's kind of regressed to the mean. And, like, the Timberwolves have been losing games ever since then. So, you know, for me, I think you need to make moves around KarlAnthony Towns. So, again, GMO. I was on the trade machine. I came up with the idea of...
Here we go. I like this.
I came up with the idea of, if you send out Jiang, the big man, Robert Covington, a first-round pick and a second-round pick, in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, and just a filling salary, maybe a Smiley-Ack or so, one of those role players off the bench from Golden State. It benefits both teams because KarlAnthony Towns gets to team up with his college friend. You know,
you're already eyeing up a free agency, aren't you?
You know,
I see your market where you're going already.
He's playing with D'Angelo Russell now, and that as a duo works very well. And you're not relying on Wiggins to be that second option. For the Warriors, they've got Steph coming back next year. They've got Klay coming back. Robert Covington fills that 3 spot perfectly because they had KD, they had Harrison Barnes, they've got no one there now.
He's got great length, 3-and-D
You
as
know,
well.
He's a great 3-and-D player. They've got Jeng who can anchor in at the 5, and then Draymond at the 4. So that works well for them, as well as giving them another potential lottery pick to go along with there. So they're building for the future.
I gotta let him go, because he's sitting here.
He can say whatever.
He's
At the end of the day, he's memorised the whole of Google, and then he's saying, well, we got the free agent.
Tell me how that doesn't make sense.
No, at the end of the day, there's certain things that they don't come up in numbers. And when you talk about winning, you can...
Give us the insight from a player.
You can talk numbers all you want up until when you talk about championships.
I didn't say a single number, though.
What?
What numbers did I just say?
No, you're talking about the raw statistics,
The involvement.
I didn't say a single number.
No, I'm not.
I said that they should try and get D'Lo on that team.
Before, he was saying that before. You were
But
saying...
what makes them
Where's
work?
the number
Okay,
in that?
so what makes them work? Okay, so
where's the number in that?
What makes that work?
That works because KarlAnthony Towns has never played
what makes
with
that
a player
work?
like D'Lo.
Is it a hot take or not, Ove?
No, it's dead. KarlAnthony Towns needs to get out of there.
Where's he going to go? What are you going to get in return?
You can rebuild.
What are you getting in return?
Rebuild.
He's got a point though, because Minnesota, let's be honest, is not an attractive free agent destination.
It's not.
And
That's
they're
why
not. Are they going to get a Wiggins or a Towns? Again,
they're
in the
not
draft?
drafting a player better than KarlAnthony Towns, and it's going to be Minnesota.
That's just the question.
You might not get one player that's going to have the exact same talent level, but if you can get a couple of players that you can build a solid team around.
So you trade KarlAnthony Towns and it's $28 million in salary. Who are you getting in return? You can't just come out and say KarlAnthony Towns is not a winner, rare. You got to have reasonable solutions, though. What is the solution?
He's not
what
a
is the
winner.
answer to the question?
Okay, so what are you building? What are you building
want to trade
towards?
KarlAnthony Towns?
I love giving the viewers at home a good insight into what our group chats
At the
are
end of the day,
I honestly wish I could try and like literally, this is our group chats on a daily basis. And as much as we could do this hot or not all day long, we have to dive into our next segment. And our first ever edition in 2020 of Who's Got Game with our guy right here, Obi Sokra.
So jazz.
6 a.m, like it is every morning, we're in the gym, got Ovi in here. It's really important for us to make sure that we get in this kind of work before the day even starts, because he's got a busy schedule. Not that my schedule is that flexible during the day either, but we're in here 6 a.m. and it's time to put in the work. So the purpose of these workouts is to make sure that we can get Ovi staying as efficient as possible throughout the year. Now that the season has started, I can review footage and have a look at certain tweaks that need to be made so that he can stay at as high a level of performance as possible, so that in future years he can have a long career.
Look how far your foot rotates. If you can try and kick it so you can kick it at the rim, that like anchors it in. Because look, if you look at the release, when you release it, you see where that kick is? Yeah. Right? So you want to hold that rather than allowing your body to keep turning. Otherwise, it's likely that that ball's going to rotate.
So today was primarily looking at his shooting form, especially like through fatigue, because he starts to change a little bit as he gets tired. So now it was about really like pounding in those details when his body was exhausted, you know, right at the end of the session. So we had a good run today, and he's really good at self-reflecting and self-evaluating. So he can, if I say something, he's like, yep, I felt that, I noticed that. So working with Ovi is like really smooth because he kind of gets the details and appreciates it. We also worked on some ball handling. Ovi mentioned to me in response from the game that, you know, he doesn't feel as comfortable with it. So that's it. So we've got to make sure that we stay on form and stay up to date with how he's feeling. Let his body do the talking, and so we worked on that too.
And now the day starts.
Everyone else is alarm box.
Yeah, man. And now we get up for the morning. Jeez. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Go home now, make some porridge, and then go to practice.
Ovi, man, that's 2020 motivation right there, man. I love the fact that you can actually critique your own game and still want to improve all the time. And give us an insight as to what your everyday is like when you're doing those sort of things and you're one-on-one with your coach.
Tiring.
It looked it, I'm not going to lie. It actually looked it.
It's tiring, man. No, it's cool, man. Just like to improve. Like to get better at stuff.
100%.
Anything you would like to do, it's always good to get better. And you got to be uncomfortable. That's where improvement lies. That's sort of, you know, that's the realm of improvement. It's being out of your comfort zone. So it's cool, man. And you got to critique yourself.
100%. And speaking of things to get motivated by in 2020, as I've already mentioned, the Paris Games are only around the corner. And January 24th, that Friday night, the Milwaukee Bucks will face up against the Charlotte Hornets. 7:30 live here on Sky Sports. Giannis Antetokounmpo will be coming back to Europe. We can be excited. And we actually caught up with Coach Bud leading up to that Paris game so he can give us an insight as to how his Bucks are faring up.
As the team, the hottest record probably in the NBA, I mean, how much fun is it to coach a team like this that's winning with a player as good as Giannis?
Yeah, I mean, it's I tell people, it's basketball heaven. You know, it's just a great team, great player in Giannis, but, you know, I think everybody around him is just, playing really well and playing together. And it's an exciting team. I think it's the team that, really guards and defends. So I feel incredibly fortunate. It's exciting to go back to Europe and to Paris and, hopefully show them some good basketball.
I mean, you've done the European trip with the Hawks in the past in London, but how useful is it in terms of a bonding experience maybe for a team to spend a few days together overseas in a new environment?
Yeah, I think it's great. The more time our players spend together, including in, like you said, in a new environment, learn a little bit about the, the culture in Paris and France, and just do things that are different, get them out of their comfort zone a little bit. I think the players always grow and learn from that, and we're excited about doing it.
Most people know you as an NBA coach, but not a lot of people know that you played in the UK. Tell people around about that.
Yeah, I think the Pentland Basketball Club or something like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, spending some time in Edinburgh and Scotland, and all the teammates there are great people. Just had the time of my life in Scotland. So I'm very fortunate to still be doing basketball and now going back to Paris, and I'm excited about being there.
The last time you came to London, you had a very special reunion. What was that like to meet teammates from Edinburgh you hadn't seen in, 20 years?
Yeah, it was great to see those guys, especially considering how they took care of me when I was, the American college student over there. They bought me pints and food, and I think found me a little work on the side for a couple of pounds. So it was so great to see those guys, and they'll be forever in my my memory and my heart. And maybe I need to call them and see if they want to come to Paris.
Man, I love that insight into Coach Bud's mentality. It's just incredible to see his whole journey. And we're actually delighted to be joined by a friend of the show and basketball analyst himself, the man who conducted that interview, Mark Woods. Mark, Happy New Year, first of all, my guy. How are you, man?
I'm very well. Happy New Year to you guys.
Yeah, well, look, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for conducting that interview and giving us that insight into how the Bucks are getting on at this moment in time as they're building up to Paris 2020. What did you see? Give us the breakdown, man.
Well, you look at the way they're playing right now, they couldn't be any happier. 32-6 record, top-rated defense in the NBA, number 3 rated offense in the NBA. And what they like in that locker room is the consistency they've got night after night. You know, yes, you've got the fulcrum in Giannis, the talent. He's having another MVP season. But the execution that they have is very, very similar game after game. They spread the floor offensively. The three-pointer is their number one option. Giannis able to go inside, be the disruptor, or kick the ball out. They don't change much. When I asked Coach Bud about what they do differently for each opponent, he said, we don't really alter for that. We'd like to stick with the same game plan. And so far, it's working very well for them.
And Mark, more than anything else, I mean, there's been so much conversation around this Bucks team. Can they actually final step? Can they actually make it to the finals? Do you actually see, being inside of their camp, have they got that championship mentality?
Well, they believe they do. I mean, they're quietly confident. They're not shouting it from the rooftops yet. They're not saying, yes, we're going to win a title come the summer. And, of course, it's a long way even now to the end of the regular season before we start talking playoffs. I guess the question is, do they pass the eye test? And we've seen teams in recent years who can win big in the regular season. They're very much built for that. They shoot threes. They're very efficient. But the postseason is much more specific. And that's when you maybe look back at that game on Christmas Day against the 76ers, where they're able to throw Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Al Horford on Giannis and take away some of those strengths that the Bucks have. We saw it again on Monday night when they lost very heavily to the Spurs. When they shoot the ball from three-point range well, they're a match for every team. But all of those 6 losses this season have come when other teams have shot a higher three-point percentage than them. And when you get to the playoffs, you know, other coaches are focusing much more heavily on taking away your strengths, focusing on maximizing your weaknesses. Then it becomes more difficult. We've seen that with the Houston Rockets the last few years, winning big, get to the postseason, can't quite get over the line. So I think the challenge for the Bucks is, have you got other options in there in your locker by the time we get to May and June?
I mean, us as European broadcasters for the NBA, we're obviously excited the opportunity to watch, especially Giannis, up close. But how's their mentality? Are they excited to come over to Paris and actually play in front of the European crowds?
I mean, the players very excited. I mean, Giannis and his brother Tanasis were telling me about the number of ticket requests that they've had from Greece, you know, so close to home. I'm sure Nico Batum, a chance to play for Charlotte back in his home country. He's never done that before in the NBA. They love the trip. Now, coaches, is it tricky? You're going away mid-season. Yes, Mike Budenholzer loves to come back. He had a great chance, you know, great tip when he was in London a few years ago. But it is difficult for them to come. But I think as a showcase for the league, they understand what a big opportunity there is for players coming back here to see friends and family who they maybe only see once a year when they're back in the summer. This is a great chance for them to come enjoy the ride. It's one game. It's a big night in Paris. And we're all looking forward to it, aren't we?
Mark, thank you so much again for your work and your insight, man. Look, I can't wait to see you on an NBA court soon. We'll catch up very soon, my friend.
Cheers.
Look, the Paris games are only around the corner, but it doesn't make any sense. But I know you two want to dive into that. But let's actually dive into our last segment, which is Off of the Court. The reason why I didn't want you two to dive into that Paris games is because I know you two are ready to go head-to-head in this next segment here. Now, I know you're both unaware of the selections that you've both made, but producer Joe has been in their ear and spoken to both of these two guys individually this week and allowed them to choose their best all-star selection, their starting 5s from each conference. So Mo, obviously you being a supporter of the Boston Celtics, we'll let you choose the East. And Ovi, being a supporter of the Phoenix Suns, we'll let you choose the West. And it's only right, since you've dissed the Eastern Conference so much, we let them go first this week. So Mo, talk to us, man. Run us through your dream starting all-star 5 and also your special mention.
My dream would be 5 Celtics players just to wind up Ovi, but I've gone with this team here. I've gone with Trae Young at the guard spot. He's an electric player. Just last night, you saw what he did against the Nuggets. He puts on a show every time out for the fans. He can shoot from anywhere. His passing ability is fantastic. He's been putting up some great scoring performances. I've gone with Kemba Walker as well. You know, he's an electric player. He's got that killer crossover that everyone wants to see.
Player in there.
No, but I also think You know, I considered Spencer Dinwiddie at that guard spot as well, but I think this is an all-star game, and I think the fans want to see the superstars, and Kemba's bag of tricks, that's going to get any fan excited. And then we're looking at the forwards here. We've got Jimmy Butler. What he's done, the individual stats for him aren't necessarily the best, but he's transformed Miami into the franchise we see looking at the third spot in the East right now. He's more than deserving of a spot. Then, of course, the reigning MVP and my pick to repeat back-to-back as MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't think I even need to explain that. Then at the 5, I considered Joel Embiid, but, you know, as Obi touched on earlier, the inconsistencies that he suffers from. I think Spicy P has stepped up this year, especially losing Kawhi Leonard. You know, he's really stepped up, so I think he's deserving of a spot in that all-star team. And then, of course, my special edition, it could only be the man who's played in 4 decades, the only man to have ever done that. 4 decades in the NBA, Mr. Vince Carter.
You get a spot for that. Even you have to smile at that
that's
one.
Vince Sanity, man.
But, you know, on Vince Carter,
Even Vince,
up here, I don't know if you guys can see it,
together.
but I do want to say one thing about Vince. I've seen some people on Twitter talking about they want Vince in the dunk contest. The man is 40 years old. Let's let him relax. I would like to see him.
Chill.
I want to see him judging the dunk contest. He should be the judge of the dunk contest this year. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
You know, go out on a high. He can judge the young guys that are coming up and throwing down those dunks. But those are my picks.
Ovi, as much as you have an appreciation for Vince Carter being a special mention there, the rest of the starting 5, how do you feel about that if you were, let's say, the West GM in that All-Star break?
If I was the West, I think, you know, the West is pretty easy, I think. I go with Luca Doncic at the PG. I mean, he's unreal. Boy wonder, I think in his draft class, he's in a league of his own, clearly. And he's sort of separated himself as a very, very, very special player. You got James Harden at the 2. I think you have to. The guy is, you know...
He's all-star money.
Yeah.
He's all-star money.
I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see someone shoot from wherever, put up however many points he wants to score. You got Kawhi Leonard. I think it's only right. Last year's Finals MVP. You got LeBron James. And then at the 5, you got AD, man. You got 2 Lakers up there. Not once, I go 2 times for them Boston fans. I give you 2 more.
Been watching that to Joshua 2 more.
2 times. I give you 2 times. And then special pick for me is Melo, man.
I know, Melo is my favorite
Melo for me.
So that's a. We're ready.
Yeah,
we're ready.
But you know, the special player picks we saw last year was Dirk and D Wade.
Of course.
And it's like a retirement thing, especially with Vince Carter. I don't want it to be pushing Melo out the door because, you know, he's putting up, 16 points a game in Portland. I still think he's got another season or 2.
You never know, though. Like, with how they've treated him, and what he's been through, I think it's only right to show respect for his body of work as a player in the NBA.
For real.
You know what I mean? It's only right. I think Melo, you know,
and then next year
I tell you what's interesting about this All-Star break this year, more than anything else, it's the European influx. Like, you've seen the fans, and they've actually voted in their numbers for both players in both conferences. But when you see this, Ovi, and you see Luca Darko leading the Western Conference in terms of the fan votes, how happy and how proud do you feel as a fellow European?
I mean, I don't want everyone saying, European this, that, to take away from how special the player is. Man.
I mean, it's only the first round, but at the same time, it's
impressive. It is impressive, but at the end of the day, the numbers speak for themselves, man. Like, the kid is clearly something. I don't think we've ever seen a player. We've never seen a player like him from Europe, in my opinion. Not someone that's got the whole package as far as the game to go along with his charisma and his style and, you know, the sort of flair that he's got. You know, we've seen tons of really impressive European players, but they always sort of have their own. They
have their own style.
They have their own style, but Luca, he really.
Complete package, really, isn't he?
He's got the complete package, man. He's got the it factor. He's very marketable.
Yeah.
Kids love him. Everyone loves him.
And what's so interesting is it didn't just reflect in the West. It actually reflected in the East as well. And you're seeing that European dominance again. Now, Mo, smile, 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 Mo. When you see the top 3 are all non-US players, how does that make you feel?
You love to see it because it gives me that little hope that one day we're going to have a kid from the UK representing. I know, you know, it might take a few years yet, but it gives me good faith that one of the youths out there, maybe watching the Sky Sports Heatcheck, is going to be inspired. And be up there with the likes of Giannis one day, representing in the NBA.
Can we just look at the difference in the numbers of votes between the East and the West?
There was no need.
Just to show like the level on both
was no
conferences. Just say
need.
it. Not even close on the East.
I think Jimmy Butler should definitely be getting a few more votes, especially for what he's done in Miami this year. But big question, only one word: who wins, East or West? If you had to do it that way.
The West will win that.
West will win these.
There's only one basketball.
They mix
though.
up the teams, though.
They mix up the teams.
I know they do. But if you had those all-star fives, the West would definitely win.
Yeah. Those 2 fives, West is blowing that team out of the water.
I can't even disagree. Come on, they got the Finals MVP. They got
Kemba,
they got AD.
You guys got Kemba Walker.
See, shade.
Oh,
Before the shade.
Before the shade. He's not a one-man team, you know what I'm saying?
Kemba Walker. Just whack
Before the
on it,
shade
you got a
starts
chance.
anymore, let's jump into our first primetime preview of 2020. Yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves will get their chance to convince a lot of these guys on the panel that they're wrong about their fortunes as they travel to place the Houston Rockets from 10 p.m. on Saturday evening. And then a special one, please do not sleep on this one on Sunday as the flying Utah Jazz travel to the always exciting Washington Wizards with Bradley Beal and co going to be in building from an 8:30 tip-off on Sky Sports Arena. Now, gentlemen, look, it's been fantastic. It's so good to see you both back. I'm excited. Just a quick one from both of you. The Saturday night fixture, I'm going to come to you first. Who you seeing winning out of the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards? That's actually the Sunday night fixture.
Sunday night?
I'll give you Sunday night.
I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards suffering from a lot of injuries and the Utah Jazz. They struggled at the start of the season. They really found their form now. They've won 11 of their last 12, I think it is. Their players are kind of... Mike Conley struggling a little bit, but Donovan Mitchell stepping up even better than he was before. The rest of the players are finding their roles. They got Bogdanovic, the other Bogdanovic that we didn't speak about. He's knocking down shots. He put up 35 last night, so...
0 assists, 0 rebounds, 0 steals.
3 fouls. 3 fouls. That's all part of the game. They got the big man Rudy Gobert there as well, Defensive Player of the Year. So it's going to be a great game to watch, but I think they'll take the win.
And how do you see Minnesota versus Houston going? That is a Saturday night game.
I see Cat doing absolutely nothing. Nah, Cat will have
Cat will do something in the middle.
He'll have a big game.
He's come dressed as the Houston mascot.
He's talented. This is burnt orange, by the way. It's not red.
Burnt orange, not red.
It's not red.
Oh, we've had this debate all day.
But anyway, no, I got Rockets though, man.
I
think Russell Westbrook, he's been looking a lot better as of late. I think he's more. He seems a little bit more comfortable. I think it might have been overthinking things. Obviously, it's the first time he's been in a new environment. Since he's come in the league. So I feel like that's taking some adjusting. But yeah, man, got Rockets.
Well, we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Unfortunately, Obi won't be here, but joining me and Mo will be Mike Tuck and Benny Bonsu here on the sofa. January 14th, episode 9 of the Heatcheck, 5:45, Sky Sports YouTube. You know what time it is. You know where to come and get the best basketball content. And gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week, man. But before we go, I know we've brought in so much excitement and so much joy into 2020 and it's all about positive energy, but we do actually have to take a moment just to reflect on losing one of our own. The former commissioner, David Stern, actually passed away on the turn of the year as well. So our condolences, our respects and our love goes out to you and your family. Thank you so much for what you've done for the game because you truly had a vision for it to be global and we as your European counterparts, we couldn't have any opportunity to do anything special without your guidance, without your support, and without your vision, man. So we thank you so much. May you rest in peace, my friend.